that we will have a musical number from Jessica, his granddaughter, Susan and Rochelle, his daughters, of Everything I Own. And after that, we'll continue. And I'll step in right after that.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom and me. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Yeah, there will be an answer, let it be. Let it be.
Let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
Let's just stop it.
Hello, I'm Jill Conforti. I'm Tony's stepdaughter. Can you hear me now? Okay, and we lovingly called him Pacheco, so just so you know, is it? Okay. Antonio Pacheco, 87, passed away on January 26, 2026, after complications from a fall. He had lived with Alzheimer's disease for many years, yet he continued to show the resilience, humor, and quiet selflessness that defined him, always surrounded by the love and support of his family. He was born in Sevilla, Spain, where he spent his childhood and youth. Antonio's early years were marked by hardship, poverty, and hunger. He was raised by his aunt and uncle, a decision made by his father out of loyalty to extended family, one that separated him from his mother and siblings and that left a lasting impact on him. As a boy, Antonio discovered a passion for bicycles. He began repairing them in a small shop, and that early fascination grew into a remarkable career. He became a professional bicycle racer with a natural talent and fierce determination, winning races throughout Europe. In Sevilla, he became something of a local celebrity, admired, well known, and surrounded by friends who loved his humor, playful charm, and determined, confident presence that made him unforgettable. Through those friendships, he met Angelina, the woman who would change the course of his life. After she returned to the United States, Antonio followed her to Phoenix, Arizona, arriving with $40 in his pocket and not a single word of English. He married her, became a supportive and reliable second father to her two children, and embraced his new life with courage and optimism. He later welcomed two daughters of his own, whom he loved with the same devotion and steadiness he brought to every part of his life. Antonio joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where he served in many callings, including as a stake including a stake missionary. He later became a proud United States citizen. Despite having little formal education as a child, he attended night classes to learn English and broaden his knowledge, always striving to improve himself. His work ethic became one of his defining traits. Antonio began in the United States as a dishwasher in a Mexican restaurant, but his ambition and discipline carried him far. He entered the apparel manufacturing industry and rose to become an operations manager for manufacturing sites in Arizona, Utah, California, Mexico, El Salvador, and Guatemala. He oversaw hundreds of employees, mostly women, in sewing factories, and was respected for his leadership, fairness, and relentless drive. Antonio was ambitious, self-sacrificing, and endlessly tenacious. He laughed easily, helped generously, and believed he could accomplish anything else he set his mind to. Above all, he was a family man. To those who knew and loved him, he was a remarkable and uniquely extraordinary man whose influence, character, and presence will be felt for generations. Antonio is survived by his adoring daughters, his loving stepson and stepdaughter, the sons-in-laws who stood by him and cared for him, devoted grandchildren and step-grandchildren, and many extended family members who loved and admired him. I wanted to share, I was asked to share a memory to kind of show who he was. So I was going to ASU, and as you know, living in Arizona, you don't see a lot of rain. You don't experience a lot of rain. But it happened to be raining a lot when I was going to school, and I had a flat tire. And it was awful. For me, being a little Arizona, rain and a flat tire just was too much. So I didn't know who to call. But then the only one I knew to call was Pacheco Antonio. And so I got on the phone, and it just was weird things. It was awful the way I tried to find a place and not kill myself on the road and all these things that were going on. And so I got on the phone, and I started to try to tell him that I had a flat tire. But instead, I started crying, and he freaked out. He thought something worse had happened. But he was at work, and I was in Tempe, which is about at least an hour away. He got off, he stopped his job. He didn't quit his job. He got out of job. He just stopped right then, and he came within 45 minutes. I think he sped all through because I was alone in some weird place and I had a flat tire. And I just remember that out of all the people that he came, I knew who to call when I needed something. So I just wanted to share those memories, and I'm sure we all have our own, and we'll be able to get to hear each of those special memories. Thank you.
Relax, Michelle. Relax, dude. You guys are doing so good. So Antonio Pacheco, he went by several names: father, dad, grandpa, abuelo, right? Antonio, Tony, and Pacheco. When he first came, we met him the first time in Arizona. Came from Spain, and we just knew him as Pacheco. A lot of other people still would just say Pacheco. Why? Because there was a ton of Antonios in Spain, and just to differentiate, he was Pacheco. He didn't know English when he came, but he had a way. And so I remember one time we were going through town. I don't know why we're looking for furniture. We're looking for furniture, a furniture store, and he blurts out, he sees a furniture store, and he blurts out, "Funituri."
And so you think about it, that's Spanish, that's how you would pronounce it. But us, we just thought that was hilarious. Funituri. And so we, teased him. He was good with that. He was okay. But he was trying, right? He wasn't afraid. He came to this place and he was trying. So we got some top 10 Tonys. And this hopefully captures a little bit of him and his personality. So, 1, Sevilla, La Maravilla. He loved Spain. That was his hometown, and it's a beautiful place. If you've been there, it's just a magical city, and he always missed it. Another, let's see how this is going to work. Figuring out stuff. Let's see how this is going to work. Another one, getting approval. Fantastic! Right? And here's the one that people experience not just one time, but probably a few times, many times. Where's my car? Where's my wallet? I don't have a phone. And he said this literally while he's on his phone talking. I don't have a watch. Can you buy me 4 or 5? All black? Buy one for you too. Generosity. Another, faced with the problem, an issue, there's things go. He goes, it's simple. Take care of it. And then kind of a recent one, but this was really classic of his way. He's at a restaurant, it's noisy, stuff is going on, the background noise. He didn't like it. He goes, 1, 2, 3, shut up! So he gave everybody a warning. He was polite. Then we know he liked a beverage, Diet Coke. He said, Diet Coke doesn't have anything bad. It's just water. Another, frequently say, let's make a business. You can make lots of money. And then the last, number 10, let me handle it. They will listen to me. I'll put them straight. And honestly, he did a lot of that. So, in memory of Antonio, Grandpa, Father, Dad, Abuelo, Abuelito, of a man who tried his best, Pacheco.
It's my turn. Okay.
I need to get sort of. I'm gonna take off my jacket because I want to have my pretty dress. Then I'm gonna ruin it with these. So, my dad and I were really close, and I was his firstborn. Is this good? And he used to tell my mom he didn't want any more kids. And because he loved me so much that he didn't think he could share his love with anyone else. But I prayed every night for a baby brother. Surprise! My sister Rochelle arrived 11 years later. But I'm sure my dad was happy because I know he loved her so much. Almost as much as he loved me. But I went everywhere with him. There's a hardware store, auto parts store, the dump. If he was going, I was going. When he needed to use the bathroom, I would sit outside the bathroom door like a little puppy, just waiting for him to come out.
And every day I couldn't wait for him to walk through the front door. And after work, that was the highlight of my day. Sometimes he would take me to work at the sewing factory. Is this better? Okay. Anyway, he would take me. I'm a mess. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Anyway, he would take me to work with him at the sewing factory, and I felt so special because I was the boss's daughter, and I could tell how proud he was to kind of show me off. And he would get up every morning at 5 a.m. to go to work, and I'd ask him, "Why do you get up so early? You're the boss." And because they wouldn't start till 7. And he said, "Because the boss should be there before his employees. How can I expect them to be on time if I'm not setting the example?" And he taught me so much by his example. And a lot of the things I value most about myself came from him. He was the life of the party. He was the one who always brought the volleyball and net to the Sarah Park for the family picnic. And he would bring baseball bats and balls and mitts. And he was like basically a mobile sporting goods store. And he and Uncle Jimmy would take us kids bowling almost every week. Or to the movies, but we were always having fun. He even took me to the church's father and sons outing. They would have a camp out just for sons. And I was mad. I was like, this isn't fair. Like, why don't I get to go? And he goes, "You're coming with me this year." And he's like, you just tuck your hair in a baseball hat and we'll call you Joe. So I went. It was going. We had the best time until someone noticed my earrings. And boys didn't wear earrings back then. And someone yelled, they go, "Hey, that's a girl. Joe's a boy. He's not a girl. I mean, he's not a boy, he's a girl." And I was mortified, and I looked at my dad waiting to see is he embarrassed too. And he just laughed, and he wasn't embarrassed at all. He acted like it was just the most normal thing ever. When we lived in Arizona, he'd take me out to the desert to go target shooting. And he'd bring empty cans, milk jugs filled with water, cardboard boxes, and shoot targets. And he trusted me completely to shoot his .22, his pistol, and his rifle. But I don't think Uncle Jimmy thought that was such a great idea. That time I grazed him with the .22 on the side of his face. Yeah. But my dad still, he had the utmost confidence in me. He didn't care. He didn't yell at me. He just handled it. You know, he was calm. He was patient, and he had a lot of trust. My dad was good at a lot of things. No sale was ever final. He could return anything. I don't think he actually ever owned a lawnmower. He just keep returning them when they stop working. But his motto was always CQI, continuous quality improvement for everything. And he was always trying to make things better. And even with his Alzheimer's, he was trying to make things better. Like, "It's fine, Dad, leave it alone." Nope, we'll just tape it. She found a Diet Coke bottle taped to the front door. There was a sign like, "Hey, this is a grocery list." His favorite tools were Velcro, whiteout, and mercure comb. Mercure comb cured everything. You'd go to school, you had a pimple, you had a big orange mercure comb on your face. He was a MacGyver. He could fix anything. He was a really positive person. When I complained or I got mad, he'd say, "I think you need an attitude adjustment." and he was a peacemaker, and he hated contention. His go-to phrases were, "Take it easy. Don't get so excited." And even in his most difficult moments of Alzheimer's, the times when he was confused, uncomfortable, upset, angry, or sad, he would quickly change his demeanor and he would say, "Oh, well, I'm happy." And as his Alzheimer's worsened, he always thought we were arguing. If we were just talking or having a discussion, he'd say, "Stop, stop, stop. You don't stop, I'm going to go." And he'd go, "But Dad, we're just talking. We're just talking. I'm leaving." In his last moments, he did exactly that. I was on the phone, as many of you know, I didn't make it back in time to be with my dad, but Rochelle and Jessica had the phone there at his last moments. And we were kind of arguing, discussing something, kind of over, and my dad was, just taking his breaths, and we knew it was close. And all of a sudden, Jess and Rochelle look over and they go, "Something's happening with Dad." And we looked over as if he was telling us, "Stop arguing. I'm leaving." And he did. He left. He was unconventional for sure, and that's one of the things that made him unique in many ways. His heavy accent, his creative problem solving, and the way he made his cereal for breakfast. Bananas, nuts, cocoa, grapes. This is all together. Sometimes even grape tomatoes. And accidentally adding dog kibble once. I think he only ate a couple of tablespoons, maybe, until we found it. The last two were probably because of the dementia, but with him, you're not really quite sure. It could have been intentional. My dad was different. He was one of a kind, and he was special. And there'll never be anyone else like him. And I'm so incredibly lucky that I've had a dad like him. I love him.
Hey, I'm Rochelle Rose Pacheco. I'm going to try really hard not to cry. You all know I do. I'm going to try. I was named after his aunt, and he loved roses. And he loved me as much as Susan. But he also loved electronics. Radio Shack. Wait. I don't want to look ugly in the video. It's pretty cool though, because it's my sister's. Okay. Radio Shack was one of his favorite stores. On road trips as a kid, we had a TV and a VCR in the car, like a real TV and VCR. And I'd sit in the back and watch movies, whatever I wanted, because he had, video cassettes of everything. And it made the trip better. Of course, I was a good kid, so that, but okay. I remember the big camcorder he would carry around with him everywhere. It was really big and heavy, kind of like the movie ones now. And you could see how big and heavy it was, but he would record for long periods of time. We have memories of everywhere that he went. It was a gift that he gave us. I don't just have vague memories of my grandparents. Because of my dad, I get to see them. I get to see him joking around with his family in Spain. I get to see us, me and my dad, dancing flamenco as a little girl on the patio. Sorry, I said I'd try. I know. I'll try to speak clearly, though, so you can understand me, even through the crying. I get to see where he grew up in the Cerro de Aguila. I get to see that house and remember the green bars. I get to remember the patio with the lemon tree that he loved. There were so many special memories made on that patio. Those memories are preserved because of my dad. Dementia took my dad's memory. It was cruel. It was a cruel, awful disease. But what I see in the videos my dad took is that he didn't take his spirit away. I often thought over the last couple of years that dementia stole my dad from me. But as I've been going through the videos, I see now that dementia couldn't take that away. His fun-loving attitude in life. It faded as he got quieter and more confused. But it was there. It remained in the cute little jokes he would make. His dancing at the sound of music. And his lack of embarrassment of walking up to everyone and saying, "Hello!" All around Flower Mound, he made friends. I need a tissue. Sorry, they were on my coat pocket. Okay. I have to admit, I was embarrassed. Although it came with perks. Shop owners buying our meals because they loved my dad. Free visits to amusement parks, not for me, but for him, because he would just smile at the security guard, smile and wave, and walk right through the gates. A woman at the pool where my kids swim that we would go every day. I'd never met her before, didn't know who she was. She comes up to me and says, "Where's your dad? How's he doing?" This was after he had passed. And I broke down in tears as I told her he was gone. She broke down in tears also. She cried. She hugged me. You could tell she loved my dad. A volunteer from Oasis, which was a support group for dementia patients that I took my dad to every Thursday, shared, "I remember how he used to dance his way into the room, making the entrance and putting a smile on everyone's face. She was so right." Silas said to me the other day that he felt cheated because he didn't get to know his grandpa before dementia. But because of my dad's love for electronics, that isn't true. Silas will still get the chance to know who my dad was before dementia. The videos capture how he was the life of the party and how he brought every room to life. I would like to share memories with you. I remember my dad carrying me on my shoulders at Cascade Springs. He had a love for the outdoors. I remember walks on the Provo Canyon Trail with him. I remember picnics in the mountains and at Sarah Park. I remember a trip to Spain, just him and me, and how he drank wine with me on the plane. And although I'm sure he hadn't had wine for years, or I'm sure he did before, because after this I knew he did, he was able to drink so much and never got drunk on the plane. We were in first class. They just kept bringing it. And I was like, "Dad." We got upgraded. Oh, I said that. First class. The wine was free, so he just kept asking for more. I was shocked. He was drinking it all, but of course, it was because my mom wasn't there. I remember him walking me down the aisle and the smile on his face. That day is preserved in video, and the cameraman videotaping our wedding caught that smile. There's a special part in that video just where they show his smile, and because of that, I will always have it. I remember that smile again when he was in the hospital with me when each of his grandchildren were born. He loved them so much. I have the memories of when I finally got the chance to be his neighbor. He finally gave in to my begging and pleading with him to move to Dallas for 1 year. Oops. Wait. Oh, yeah. I thought he would just stay in Texas once he got there. But no, back to Utah he went after his 1 year. He loved Orem, and especially that house in Orem. He loved the fruit trees he planted in the backyard and the rose bushes in the front. He loved his neighbors who were here in Orem. And I'm sure he never really got over us making him move back to Texas several years later. But how lucky I am that he did. I'm so grateful to Art and Susan. They moved my dad back to Flower Mound and moved themselves just to be near us. Because of them bringing him back, I got the gift of time. I got the precious memories of experiencing at the end of my dad's life right beside him. It was him and me together all the time. We went everywhere together. When he would ask for his car, that car he loved so much, but that he couldn't drive anymore, I was able to say, Dad, we go together. You go with me. Everywhere together. This precious time of us, all of us, our whole family, we got that. It was our dream to be together, and we got it. It was rough, but we got it. Sometimes we all love each other still, so it's okay. I remember the family dinners that he loved so much, and the toast to familia. He would make several times throughout the night. Because of his videos, I can still see those moments. Sawyer and him having a water gun fight, Scarlett telling him what to do, Silas in his arms as a newborn. I have memories of the love my mom and dad shared and their cute way of interacting through arguing. I also have memories of the love he found with Carmen. I have the memories of my dad's selfie pictures, or just his feet, or close-up of his ear. It's difficult to watch those videos, but it's so good at the same time. Because of them, we can all cherish these memories. Because of him, we can all cherish these memories, the good and the bad. My dad's memory loss was so bad. But even through all of that, he still gave us really good memories. It's difficult to watch those videos, but it's so good at the same time. Because of them, we can... Oh, I already said this. I tell my kids all the time that the hard and difficult moments in life are part of life itself. Don't wish them away. They are what makes us who we are. My dad had a hard life. But he also had a very good life. Surrounded by the love of his family. He never wished the hard parts away. He was strong because of them. He showed his resilience through his terrible disease, keeping his fierce independence until the very end. He loved fiercely, and he loved all of us so much. Thank you for a lifetime of memories, Daddy, and for showing me how to own every part of my life, the good and the bad. I love you. I'll wait till who's next. I don't know. Who's on the program? Brandy. We're doing it in order of how we met my dad.
normally wear a suit and tie, but I don't know why this time I didn't. But now I'm dedicated. Seen Tony no suit and tie on in those pictures, so I feel good. Thank you. Thanks. I don't know why, but I apologize. Good morning. This is a beautiful day. I think this is one of the days that I think Tony would love to be here and be with his family, and he is. I had the privilege of knowing Tony for 45 years. One of my favorite things about Tony was his love of a good buffet and getting his money's worth. I mean, Golden Corral is great, but Skipper's, that was one of his favorite places too. So we miss Skipper's. I know they closed down here in Utah. But most of all, Tony loved spending time with the people he cared about. His children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. Tony always showed up. That was Tony. He helped me get a job at Paquette's when my job was closing their doors. He welcomed me, he opened the doors for Paquette's. I didn't know anything about clothing. They put me in quality control. I don't know, I was like, so if you're wearing some of those garments that don't fit just right, that was me. I QC those ones. And then he helped Jill and I moved into our first apartment. He lugged around that huge VCR cam recorder to capture special family moments together. And he invited me just to hang out with him at Radio Shack. He was electronic guru. Even though he wasn't a guru, but he did his best. He converted that one room of his into like a control center for NASA. I'm sure that VCR cam recorder is in the Smithsonian Institute right now. Tony leaves behind memories and videos that will keep us smiling long after today. Today, we say goodbye, but we also say thank you. Thank you for the laughter. Thank you for the stories. Thank you for being exactly who you were. Rest easy, Tony. You will always be remembered.
Well, Paul, you were technically born first, so you're a...
That Michael's. Yeah.
For that. As his fifth favorite grandchild, I had an opportunity when I moved from California to live with my grandparents, and I'd get these loving voicemails, or when I get home, what lights I left on when I left for work. Never learned my lesson. I still leave lights on, but yeah, that's true. I didn't get that. So many great memories, as you can see. He had the cutest smile. He was very sweet, always there, always served. He was probably the most organized hoarder I've ever seen. Had hoards for days, hoards that I don't even know. They weren't supposed to be around that time too, so I don't know what. But I don't know what else to say. He was really truly a great man, and I love him so much. He's done a lot for me. He's done a lot for all of us here, and the greatest thing he left us with is family. I mean, I love you guys all so much, and that's all I can say. He was a great man, and I appreciate him.
next, I think.
Hi, I'm Maria Angelina Conforti. Guess I would be, well, many cousins above me, but the main thing I remember about Grandpa Pacheco is just the smell of olive oil in the morning. I mean, it's just thing, it just really is like my sense of food and culture has come from my grandpa. And just remembering, I mean, just little things. I mean, he would always give us money just because. Here's $5. Here you go. But Paul would never get $5. He would just go to the corner. He would always go to his little corner place because he was, never listened to Grandma. But I did, as like a child, and seeing how much he loved Rochelle and Susie so much, I just saw it all the time. Like it just showed me how much a father, because even with my father, it just, goes to show that a father is very important. And also just how much when Jessica was born, how excited he was. And I just know, it was just like, I remember him just taking care of Jessica and just being there for him, there for her when, you were at work and everything. And it was just, he was there. And he always just made sure that, he was the person where Grandma, was there and doing her genealogy, but he was actively there as that family, keeping everybody together, and he was just very, just a wonderful person where, a lot of just understand, just bringing culture into my own life, just understanding, the Spanish culture, and just, just having a glimpse of that. I was just always so proud, just amazed by all the accomplishments of, him being a bicyclist and all these things where I just wish I was the one that went to Spain with the family instead of, being here left in the United States. But, I'm just glad that was able to, be around the people he loved, and that he wasn't alone. And I'm just grateful for our family. And that's it.
Going to start out by hearing the words of the man himself.
Antonio Pacheco Santo Caravaca. Give me a call. Santo, adios.
I love the sound of his voice, and I'm incredibly lucky to say that man is my grandfather. Apparently, from day one, I was mini Antonio. My mom was holding me, and my father took one look at me and said, "It's Tony. It's baby Tony." Little did I know, those were some really big shoes to fill, to be like Antonio. A man who's deep down to the core, a kind, loving, selfless, hilarious, full of life, and a true family man. I'm incredibly fortunate for all of the time I got to spend with Antonio. Every day growing up, I went over to my grandpa and grandma's house, and I'm going to share some of those memories with you. When I was
younger in elementary school. And school is out. There was Grandpa every day in his black Honda with the dark tinted windows that were bubbling up, Velcro all over. Every day he was there for me. And then when I got a little bit older and he taught me how to ride a bike, I rode my bike home from school every day, and there he was, right behind me, riding his bike. And always there as a protector, keeping you safe. Sometimes a little bit too much. One day I made the mistake of telling him that at recess some boys kicked me in the butt. He said, "Oh yeah." And so that day, I rode my bike home, and he was taking a little bit longer to meet me at home. And he finally got back to the house. I said, "What took you so long?" And he says, "I went and I followed those boys, and I went and kicked them in the butt." Those boys never talked to me again, but he was always there. And when I turned 16, the birthday present I got was a baseball bat to keep in the trunk of my car. But as soon as I got home from school, he had a plethora of cereals to choose from, always had it stocked. There he was eating his French bread and dipping it in milk. And, just if we didn't have anything at the house, he would say, "Okay, let's go to the grocery store. I'll get you anything." And then I would be doing my homework. We were very structured. And then there he would go. I'm doing my homework, and there he's doing his yard work, working on the rose bushes or in the backyard with his fruit trees. And so many hobbies that Antonio shared his love for with me. From biking to walking around at the rec center track over and over, racquetball, going to the swimming pool with Uncle Jimmy, teaching me how to play soccer, and he's right there on the field running with me, teaching me. He always dropped anything he was doing to help. Or if I wanted to go to classic skating, if I wanted to go to the dollar store, sure, he would say with a smile on his face. Never once did he seem bothered or irritated to help somebody. He was truly, truly happy to do so. And then it was dinner time. And if we weren't going to Golden Corral, we were going to Carl's Jr. or to Skipper's or to Del Taco. And he was just so happy to get such high quality of food for a cheap price. And some of my favorite memories were going to the dollar store with him. And the swap market was quite the experience, getting to see all of his bargaining skills. Buying more of his 50 cords and chargers. Even though, unfortunately, that part of Antonio slowly went away with the horrible disease of Alzheimer's. But there was always the little glimpses of his personality, his love for Diet Coke, technology, still wanting to hang up giant maps in his walls, getting upset if it wouldn't stay. He wanted to put Velcro up there, but Rochelle wouldn't let him in her big, beautiful, brand new house. Cardboard boxes and making furniture. However he said it. Funituri. Straws. We'd be going out of a restaurant. He'd just grab a whole pile of straws, napkins, tissues. He always had a tissue if you needed it. That stuck. He always wanted to ride his bike. He said he could still run. He was wondering where his black Honda was. He was a city man. He said at Rochelle, at our compound in Texas, he said, there's too much green. I want to go to the city and get some lunch. His love for Papa Fritas and Diet Coke. Still, to that very last day, he still wanted his chocolate shake. And it's pretty incredible at the end that in Texas, we had a winter storm and the whole state shuts down and there's just a little bit of snow on the grounds. And because of that, Rochelle and I had to make some difficult decisions, and we camped out with Grandpa during this winter storm. And he was a fighter, even to that last day. He didn't let Alzheimer's break him. He just kept pushing every day. We tried to tell him, hey, we've been fighting so long. It's okay. We're gonna be okay. We'll miss you. We'll think about you, but, you know, it's okay. You can go. And he did. He just kept fighting until we started fighting. And, you know, even though the last 3 months or so, he didn't know who we were, but I could tell that he felt comfortable when we were around. And all you would have to say is familia, familia. And you could see the smile in his eyes. And I am just so grateful to have known Antonio and that contagious smile and laugh. And so I'd like to play some voicemails that he left to just show that side of him a little more. I'm gonna turn this speaker off so you can kind of hear on my phone a little bit better. Sorry.
Hi, Rochelle. Could you go to the store? Buy me 2 phone chargers. I need it. So let me know if you can find them. Adios. Gracias. Hi, Jessica. Good morning. I hope you're doing good. Don't work it too hard. Bye. I love you. See, I'm back in the house. Something was really bad. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Bye. Mother wants to know if you cooking lunch in there. She's getting hungry. Hi, Susie. I want to tell you not to drink the water over here. The water has been poisoned, so don't drink any water.
So suspicious.
How come you cannot get on the phone? That's what I call it. I will call the phone. I'm going to call it, eh? I'm going to talk to you. Oh, what?
I'm gonna talk to the wall.
Adios.
What's the red button, Dad?
Red button this way. This is Don Antonio Pacheco Santo. Llámame. Adiós.
And I'll leave you with this final one.
Tenía $1,000 o $1,000. Mándamelo pronto. Adiós. I'll see you later, Linnell. Bye.
See you later, Grandpa. Thank you so much. I love you always.
Work.
What'd she say? Oh, yeah.
My name's Art Seguin. I'm Tony's son-in-law. And there's a lot of things that could be said about Tony. We've heard a lot, but we could probably stay here all day and have little anecdotes and memories of Tony. But I wrote a little thing, so I'm just going to read it. And here we go. Tony was a man who gave of himself without hesitation and made everyone around him feel cared for. As his son-in-law, I had the opportunity to see that generosity up close. It took some time, but once he knew I could be trusted to care for his precious daughter, he welcomed me into his family with a warmth and a receptiveness that never wavered. Tony had a remarkable talent for making the impossible seem possible. We've heard some anecdotes about that and how he always would try to fix things and make them better. If he bought something from a store that insisted it was non-returnable, we heard this before, he would take that as a challenge, and somehow he would come out, with a refund and a smile. It wasn't luck, it was his charm, his persistence, and his uncanny ability to persuade people to see things his way. As Susan had said, he lived by his own brand, his own kind of CQI, continuous quality improvement. He could look at anything from a household gadget to a family routine and instantly imagine how to make it better. Even when his ideas sounded improbable at first, he had a way of explaining them that made you pause, reconsider, and eventually admit that he might be onto something. I didn't always agree to pursue every idea he had, but in the end, Tony usually found a way to get the job done. I'm convinced he single-handedly boosted the global demand for Velcro, as you heard, given how enthusiastically and creatively he used it. And of course, there were moments that still make me smile. I like how he was convinced I must have been hard of hearing because I couldn't understand what he was saying. Asked Susan, is Art hard of hearing? He always says, what? What'd you say? Maybe I am hard of hearing, I'm not sure. But, or how he would warn anyone walking around without shoes and socks on that they were going to get sick. Yeah, he was adamant about that. These weren't just quirks, though. These were expressions of his care, his certainty, and his desire to look out for the people he loved. Though he built a life here in the United States, far from Spain, he carried his homeland in his heart, its spirit, its joy, its pride. His favorite expression when talking about his birthplace was Sevilla, la maravilla. And it is in those uniquely Tony expressions, stories, gestures, and sayings that we hold on to him now. They remind us of who he was, how he shaped us, and what we carry forward because of him. Word artwork. Yeah. And it's not even Thanksgiving. Where's that 22 now? Anyway, I just want to say muchas gracias, mi suegro.
Everyone, I'm Michelle. Grandpa Tony was mi abuelo. As I was thinking about all the memories I have with Grandpa Tony, of course, they had so many sweet and endearing moments that came to mind. There were a few that stood out more than others. And as I reflected on them, I realized they weren't just memories. He was leaving me with life lessons. Maybe that's why they stayed with me so clearly. I always loved Grandpa Tony's big bin of electronics that we all talked about. It was full of VCRs, cell phones, batteries, half of them still in the boxes. The other half didn't work. And we used to give him a hard time about it, but I always thought it was such a cute quirk. I always thought that it was adorable of him to hold on to these things. And what I took away from that is one man's junk is another man's treasure. He reminded me to be resourceful. And most importantly, things still have value and that we need to be grateful for what we have. Grandpa Tony and I also had a noticeable height difference. He didn't let me forget that. Every single time I saw him without fail, he would mention, "Oh, are you growing taller? Oh, did you get taller? Why are you so tall?" Even if it had only been a week since the last time I had seen him. "Did you get taller from the last time I saw you?" Looking back, I realized that too was a lesson. It always made me smile. But love the things that make you unique. I will always stand tall. He made me feel seen. The last time we were together, Tony, Rochelle, and Susan were visiting our house before heading to the airport to head home. We said our goodbyes, and shortly after, we realized my phone was missing, and it was getting closer and closer to the airport. He had slipped it into his pocket as they were heading to the airport. It had been like quite a day, one of those days where nothing was going right. And while we could have been upset, frustrated, or even angry, instead we laughed. And we chose to see the humor in the moment and said, well, this will make a great story someday. And it does. That moment reminds me to not sweat the small stuff, to choose laughter when I can, and to remember that sometimes the best memories come from imperfect days. Grandpa Tony, thank you for the lessons you taught me in the simplest and sweetest ways. We will miss you deeply. And although I don't drink Diet Coke, every single time I drink a Diet Coke, I will think of you.
Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. My name's Trevor. I'm Art's son, as Tony would have said, Trevis. I'll try to be quick. I have a lot of memories. I don't need to reiterate how much he loved Susie and Rochelle and Jessica equally, of course. But yeah, I have a lot of amazing memories with Tony. When I just think some of them that are burned into my memory are Angie around his arm. I think he was also a devoted husband and loved Angie so much. Probably hundreds of times I watched the Honda pull up and Tony walk around and help Angie out of the car and slowly make their way up the driveway. Fond memories. I was lucky enough to actually see Tony in his element. A couple buddies and I went to this thing is finicky. A couple buddies and I went to Europe after school, and Tony was luckily in Sevilla at the time too, and it was like, we have to go see him. And it was really cool to see him in his element, walking around Sevilla with his other best friend Tony, and getting calentitos at his favorite place, and going to Tony's house and eating gazpacho. I wasn't a huge gazpacho fan, so I kind of had to force it down. But it was really cool. I'm really glad that I got to share that memory with him. But I wanted to say one other memory I have of just showed how generous he was. When I went to Colorado for school, I couldn't quite fit everything in the truck, and so Susie's, hey, I think he's got a trailer he's not really using anymore. He probably doesn't need it. And he you kind of didn't realize how much he loved it. He was like, oh, please take it, Trevor. hopefully take good care of it. And I went to school, took the trailer, helped me out a ton. But every time I call back to Dallas, is that Trevor? He's okay. How's my trailer doing? How's my trailer doing? Every single time. And it just like helped me realize how generous he was. He loved that trailer like his baby. I can't believe he let it go. And I love that and take that to heart. He loved that, but he let me take it because he's such a generous man. So I miss you, Tony, and love you, and we'll never forget the memories we've shared together. So thank you.
I'm a Christian man, Rochelle's husband, and Tony's son-in-law. I hate speeches in these circumstances, especially for someone like Tony. When I first met him a little over 21 years ago, Rochelle and I first started dating. She said, "Hey, you want to come out to Utah?" And I was like, I've never been to Utah before, and I was so excited to go, but yet extremely nervous at the same time. I mean, that meant I was going to meet her family, her parents. I was kind of terrified because I knew how close their family was, and we met. He was the most inviting human being. I could just tell, like, his work ethic, and we had things in common that he would always talk about. What do you do? And you're hardworking. And it was just this. You could tell what was instilled in him. We got along really well. So that led to, okay, they love family as much as I love family. I felt really comfortable. So comfortable that I would ask questions about his love for things like electronics. I would notice things in the garage, multiple things. Why does he have, he's got VCRs, why does he have 5? And you just never know. So I came to learn that you never knew, you never had enough of anything. Over the years, knowing Tony, from Orem, moving to West Jordan, moving to Dallas briefly, living next door, and spending his year. He promised to be there for a year, and he couldn't wait to get back to me. I mean, he couldn't do it any quicker, and it was really sad. I mean, in-laws live right next door to you. It's different. It was really different. Seeing him every day, it was great. He was always there. He was always wanting to take the kid, take like Sawyer for a walk, or dogs. I mean, he just wanted to. He always wanted to be with the family. He wanted to be outside. I think the Texas heat finally got to him, even though he's from Sevilla. And it's always hot. But he went back to Utah, and like Rochelle said, they convinced him, or Susan convinced him, to move back out to Texas and to be closer to the family, kids, and all of us. And that changed everything. Most people, family members, but in-laws, they're really close. There's so many memories of little quirks. We've all talked about it. The things he loved, the big cake, peanuts, his cereal, and how he had this methodical way of making his cereal every morning. No matter what you were eating, nope, you wanted cereal. His love for paper. He had paper hanging out of every pocket. And why? You never know. Just, he always had something. If it wasn't a straw. It was paper. He was always grabbing them on the way out of the restaurants. And it was never enough. Or he'd be in the middle of dinner and he would put it in his pocket and ask for another one. like they didn't bring him one. And he would start collecting these, and that's how he would do it. He had different ways. And he was just an interesting man. And you learned so much about him, how much of a hard life he had growing up, and it made a lot of sense the way he was. He was very protective. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's loved their family or so proud of their family all the time. He would always talk about his kids and his grandkids and everybody, how proud he was, and they're the greatest and they're the smartest. And he always said that. And you hear it over and over again. It's not, it was never enough. He loved hearing it. I'm just going to share some of the funny moments that we had over the years, because we had a lot. He lived in the house with us for 8 years. He lived next door for a year. So you have a lot of memories. When you see someone every day and you share these memories. He went everywhere. Like Rochelle said, he would always want to leave the house. Where are we going to lunch? He loved going to lunch. People loved him. He was the star of the show. I mean, everybody was, how could you not? He was just randomly dancing, talking to people. He never met a stranger. We'd walk down the street and he just would talk to anybody. He was so inviting. And I think it's very contagious. Everybody loved him for it. And but I'm going to share some of the funny ones. You've heard some of them about the way he would put grape tomatoes in cereal, dog food. One time, my mom had sent some scented candles to us as a present one year, and they looked awfully a lot like chocolates or candies. So he started eating them, and we knew what they were, but it was kind of hard to say, Tony, those are candles. But he ate them. He at least got through one, maybe two. But those are the funny things, right? They were
terrible chocolates.
We went to Disneyland, California, and it's funny because the lines were long, they always are. He had the wheelchair. It was like the fast pass. We got to the front of the line. And he got to the point that we couldn't do this forever, but he played along. He got out pretending like he couldn't walk just so that we could continue going to the front of the line on all the rides. If it wasn't, he was so fun like that. He didn't care. He didn't care what people thought. Our annual trip was to the state fair. I don't know how it happened, but somebody walked up and gave him this big gold chain. It was like hip hop or something, but this was not a normal chain. These were big chains, and he had it around his neck. And he was walking through, and everyone was looking at him. And at the state fair there, they have some side music, and there are people, kids and families, they'll be dancing. And he's just over there dancing and having the greatest time with this big gold chain. Not a care in the world. And you look at him like, how can you be embarrassed about that? He was having so much fun. And that's how he lived his life. He even walked up to the Telemundo reporter at the same state fair and just started talking to her. And they interviewed him. And it was great. There was nothing that he was shy about. He would dress up with the family on all our Halloweens. He was such a sport. He would stay up late for our New Year's Eve parties. He dressed up like the granny, and Scarlett's very first birthday party was a Tweety Bird birthday party. He had the wig on and glasses to be grandma. Road trips, game nights, Mexican train, bingo, watching him, ever-changing rules and Chinese checkers and chess with the kids and the family. He had his rules. Dancing on the back of a tiki boat in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, to Island Song by the Zac Brown Band. He just gets up and starts dancing. Nothing was ever off limits, and it was always fun. He had stories, all kinds of stories. He did everything. Later on, stories, they grew more interesting. You know, they were fictitious, a lot of them, but they were nonetheless they were great. They were his stories. He was the head of the church. He was the president of the country. He was an airline pilot. He had his own coffee shop. He did all kinds of things. He was like the most interesting man in the world. And even until the very last day, he was frustrated himself because he didn't. But you would have his moments, and he would say, "It's okay." And he loved everybody around him. And that's something I'll never forget. He was the most selfless person I've ever just terrible. You can learn a lot from spending time with him. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of his life and his family. And all the memories and the videos and his love for electronics. And so we'll never forget him. You can't go anywhere without remembering something because he was awesome. And he made it great. So I love him.
Hello. Like that. All right, so my grandpa was really nice, wonderful guy. Always cared about everybody else before himself. Like dinner time, he could be like, "Oh, we'd give him his food first," and he wouldn't eat it, and we'd be like, "You can eat your food," and he's like, "Well, I need everybody else to eat first before I eat." He would always sacrifice his things for everybody else. Had many jobs that he said he was the president of many countries. Had an airplane, a helicopter, lots of things he owned. Always wanting to give people things like, "You need money? Do you want money? Here's money." Or he always cared about other people more than himself. One of my favorite memories with him was I had a baseball game. It was one of the last games, and everybody was really quiet. There wasn't like much cheering, and he would just be yelling out, being like, "Go," or like screaming "bingo" or whatever you wanted to say. He would just be screaming random phrases, and he never was afraid, like, to talk to people or to just randomly do things. Like a lot of my friends really liked my grandpa because he would talk to them. He would try to get to know them a lot, and he was funny. But yeah, he just really nice, caring guy. I love you, Grandpa.
Hi. Yeah, hi. My grandpa had a lot of fun moments with me. One time, Sora was at football practice. Mom and Dad were watching him, and it was just us together in the car. Sorry.
what his job was, and he started telling me he was the president. Now, I know he wasn't actually, like, the president of the United States, but I know he was, like, a boss of a big sewing factory. After he told me he was the president, he said, "But don't tell your dad, he'll be jealous." That moment when Grandpa said that, I loved it because it showed how generous and
My grandpa was a great man. I love him so much. He always put others first. He was the best grandpa in the whole world. I'm so glad he was born so he can be my grandpa.
Thank you for that.
I also don't think you need the microphone.
You probably don't. I got about 6 words written down. That's gonna be fine. I don't need that either. Everything's gonna be fine. Anyway, Rambler, I'm humbled. I'm happy to be here today. I got the opportunity to meet Tony roughly 2.5 to 3 years ago. Although Tony was at late stage dementia when I did meet him, and it obviously got worse as we went forward. I saw 3 character attributes that were very easy to see even through the dementia that was very powerful. The first of which is very self-sufficient. The family had me sit next to him at one of the earlier dinners, and they said, "You gotta keep track of him." Well, I go, he's not the fastest guy in the world. I could probably do that pretty easily, no? Well, it's a pretty social family, as most of you guys know, and so ultimately I got a little distracted, and the next thing I know, people are like, "Where's Tony?" I'm like, "I don't know, I didn't even know he could get away that fast." But that self-sufficiency is also the reason that he was able to come from humble beginnings and raise a family like this. So that was one of the redeeming qualities that he had. The second of which is he was a very social man, very social. We would go into restaurants, he would make friends with the table next to us, he'd make friends with the people sitting at the bar as we walk in, just about anyone. He also had quite possibly the best pickup line I've ever heard. He would sit down next to a woman he found attractive or wanted to talk to. He would ask, "Where's your husband?" The third quality which lives in this family, I see it every day and I'm very thankful for it, is he was a giver. I learned very early on, every dinner, lunch I attended at the family's house, that Tony's the one that does the dishes, you don't do the dishes. And he was very adamant about doing the dishes, and I see that giver mentality in this family each and every day. And although I didn't get the opportunity to meet Tony in his prime, I'm very thankful for what he did while he was raising his family, and I'm very thankful that I get to see and live with the contributions he made during his life each and every day. Thank you, Tony.
I'm gonna try.
We aren't embarrassed. We've got used to being embarrassed.
kept me warm, kept me warm. He gave my life to me, set me free, set me free. The finest years I ever knew were all the years I had with you. And I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. And I would give everything I own just to have you back again. You taught me how to love, what it's what it's You never said too much, but still you showed the way, and I knew from watching you. Nobody else could ever know the part of me that can't let go. And I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. I would give everything I own just to have you back again. Is there someone you know you're loving them so, but taking them all for granted? You may lose them one day, someone takes them away, and you don't hear the words you long to say. I would give anything I own, give up my life, my heart, my home. I would give everything I own just to have you back again, just to touch you once again.
Thank you. That was beautiful. In closing, again, I like to thank everyone for coming out today. We are going to have a Instrument of Ashes by Jessica, and then after that, Tony loved, as you know, Diet Coke and peanuts, and I believe we are going to hand out a Diet Coke and peanuts to everyone. And so, and then after we do that, we're going to have a toast for Tony. And I believe Art will lead that toast. I will, yes. And then after the toast, we have some bowls of rose petals. So if you'd like to go by and say your final remarks to Tony, and you can drop off some rose petals if you'd like to. And after, we are going to be meeting at my home, which is straight up the road right here, and you can miss it. Because and the road will end right there, so you'll see everybody there. So, but we'll go ahead with Jessica.
I could to comfort him and to let him know we were there. And I would sing him this song. Antonio, Antonio, I love you. Antonio, 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 I love you. Antonio.
To Antonio Pacheco Santos, a man who showed us that family is the heart of a good life. He loved being surrounded by the people he cared for, and of course, he always loved having a Diet Coke in hand, lifting that can with a smile and saying, "A familia, salud." Today, we raise ours back to him. May his love continue to bind us. May his spirit stay close in every gathering we share. To Tony, "A familia, salud."
We have peanuts. Okay, go get the peanuts for everybody, Silas.
Go get them? Yeah, go get them.